Okay, folks, why don't we go ahead and get started. We have a long tradition here at the forum, formerly Lunar Science Forum, of doing a town hall for the analysis groups. Formerly, it was just the LEAG that we did this with. We now have the privilege of having both chairs, both Jeff Plesha and Nancy Chabot of the LEAG and SBAG, and by a decision that they just reached, Jeff is going first. So Jeff Plesha, take it away.
Look at that, it worked. Okay, I just wanted to update you on a couple things that LEAG has been up to and will be up to in the coming year. These are sort of the topics. Just go over the executive committee. The meeting we're going to have talk a little bit about GER Day, which is Thursday. A workshop we're planning, a SAT, a strategic action team that we're planning, and then a couple other issues. So the executive committee. I don't know which is a sillier group, this one or this one, but in any event, I'm currently the chair. Clive is the chair of Vice, and then we've got the rest of the group here that comes from a combination of academics, and we also have James Carpenter from ESA on to provide some perspective for from the international side. Sarah Noble, whose name I finally spelled correctly, is our representative from SMD, and Victoria Friedensen from HEOMD. I assume, or maybe it won't, this would change when, if and when they hire someone to replace Mike Orgo. When? Okay. Okay, the annual meeting we're going to have is in October 22nd to the 24th, again at APL like we had it last year. The abstracts are due in August. We are focusing on volatiles and future mission opportunities and things like that. So we're encouraging everyone to submit whatever they think is appropriate. Something new we're going to try this year is we're going to provide some travel stipends to graduate students and postdocs to attend the meeting. I don't know how many we're going to do, and given the way we're going to do it, it's only applicable to people in the U.S., not from overseas. So the only requirement is that these people submit an abstract to the meeting. We're not just going to pay for people to come and watch. We're going to pay for them to come and participate. As usual, we got a web page up on the LPI website, and it gives the rest of the information about the meeting, which is not spelled correctly, and the other logistical issues. Okay, HEOMD has asked the LEAG to form a SAT, I love all these acronyms, a strategic action team, to think about volatiles at the pole. Paul Lucy has agreed to chair the committee, and basically the idea is to sort of assess where we are now. What do we really know about volatiles at the pole as it relates to exploration? I mean, you know, if you've heard the talks over the last couple of days, there's a large variety of questions and issues associated with volatile transport in the exosphere and across the surface, and on and on and on. This group is certainly not going to do that. They're basically looking at the potential for finding volatiles at the pole and assessing whether they would be useful as a resource. So the focus is a little bit different, and a lot of the debate, you know, about the current environment is a little moot in terms of that. One of the questions is, all right, what don't we know, and then how would we measure that, be it with instruments or spacecraft, particularly how we would do it with small missions, as opposed to giant, you know, discovery or larger class missions. One of the things that's relevant to this, which you'll hear about more tomorrow, is this opportunity to do some possible CubeSat missions, and Barbara and Julie are going to talk about this. It's part of the plenary talks tomorrow afternoon in here, so you'll hear more about that. So this is going to operate over the next couple of months, and we'll make a report to HEOMD when they're done. One thing we've been talking about for a while is having another workshop, an international workshop, to think about the scientific questions in terms of where we are now and what are the new questions. We've had a bunch of missions. We've had LRO and LCROSS. We've got Artemis going. The Japanese, the Chinese have sent a number of missions. We had Smart 1. And you know, we've learned a lot over the last decade or so since the SCIM report was put together, and so what we wanted to do was sort of update things. Where are we now? What progress have we made? What are the outstanding questions, and possibly what are their priorities to give guidance not only to the U.S. but the international partners as well. And we want this to be not just a U.S. meeting, but an international meeting. So we're putting together an international program committee, and we're trying to get this thing going early next, or probably late next year. The venue is still TBD. What else? Okay. SMD has asked us to put together a lunar technology plan, which presumably they would use as they get the ones from us and the other AGs to think about what their future investments would be in technologies. For example, one of the things we think needs a lot of work would be returning a sample from the poles, an ice sample, so you'd have to do some sort of cryogenic sample return. There are a lot of issues associated with that. So over the next couple of months, we're going to put this together, and the draft and whatnot will be on the LEAG webpage for people to look at and comment and make suggestions. Finally, there's a couple of issues that we want to raise with the Planetary Science Subcommittee. One of them is the cartographic program, and the other one are a couple of the facilities. Given the way things were funded in the past, a lot of this stuff sat in the Planetary Geology and Geophysics program. Now that program is gone, and so the question is, where do these places actually reside? And how do we make sure they continue to be funded appropriately and have the appropriate scientific oversight and don't get lost in the shuffle here? Oh, there you are. Okay, you want to say a couple words about the cartography and ISIS issue? Sam Lawrence, he's the chair of the cartography program.
So, in addition to being a LEAG XCOM member, I'm also presently the chairperson of the Cartography and Geologic Mapping Working Group, which at the moment it doesn't really do that much beyond review the USGS proposal every year. But the reason why this has suddenly floated to the top a little bit is because, I don't know, one of the people at LROC subscribes to this magazine called The Week, and there's always a little sidebar in like the front two pages called The Boring But Important News. Cartography falls into the, it's boring, but it's really important. And if you look very carefully, and this is my fault because I was, heavily involved in the SKGs, especially for the moon, we kind of missed one, and that was the importance of mapping. So right now, if you have a data set from Kaguya or, or Clementine, and this happens to me all the time, people see something interesting in Clementine, and they go, gee, can we target this for a future narrow-angle camera observation? And I go, well, sure, but your coordinates are anywhere from, 1 to 10 kilometers off. And so and that's kind of a lot when you're dealing with something at the scale of the narrow-angle cameras. So, this is an important thing, and so we do need to sort of make sure, at least at the AG level, that we sort of keep thinking about it, because it's not just for the moon. Small bodies, it's important. It's important for Mars. It's important for OPAG. So this is an issue that it's not going to go away, and as we send more and more missions, we're going to, it's just going to get harder and harder. So, we do need to have a centralized group that, as a community, we sort of need to do better. And so that's the only reason why it's becoming important now, especially for LEAG, as we have LRO, and as LRO continues to operate and collect more data, and as other lunar international missions collect more data, this is going to, continue to be an important thing. So I'll get off the stage now.
Thanks. And I'm done. Anybody have any questions? Yeah.
What about LMNP that we just saw the demo of? Won't that help with this?
It possibly. The issue. Oh. Okay. The issue was whether the LMMP project program would be part of the cartography thing. Yes, it could be. The objective of this bullet is independent of the USGS. In other words, this is not an argument that we got to keep the USGS funded. That's a separate thing. How NASA chooses to make sure cartography continues is their choice. We just want to make sure that it doesn't get lost in the shuffle. Yeah.
Just a comment, Paul Hain, JPL, the SAT, I think you call it the Strategic Action Team for
Yep.
Volatiles, the charter for that looks remarkably similar to charter for a study we just completed at the Keck Institute for Space Studies. And I just hope that you'll use that report as a resource.
Yes, yeah, we have a copy of that, and that's certainly one of the inputs that we'd use. And the idea, one more comment about the SAT is it includes not only science types, but there are a number of sort of mission technology people to help us address the implementation part.
The last 3 bullets on your last slide, are the issues the same as with the upper bullets?
I'm sorry, this?
Yeah, those 3 bullets, what is the issue there? Is it the same as with the...
Yeah, in other words, these were funded in the past by PG&G, and we just want to make sure that they don't get lost in the shuffle, that there's someone at headquarters identified that's responsible for them, that they have the appropriate scientific oversight, and that there's funding to keep them alive and functioning well. I mean, if NASA were to decide for whatever reason they didn't want one of these things, it's not okay. But if they make an explicit decision to do something, that's one thing. If something just disappears because nobody thought about it, that's what we want to avoid. I mean, we think all these things are important and should be continued. NASA will now speak.
No worries, none of these things have been forgotten about. we are on top of all of them. We are working through a number of issues with them, and we are planning at some point, hopefully in the next year, to do a senior review type study on all of them.
Okay. Sylvie.
Clive Neal, Notre Dame. I just want to ask, because these things come to the attention of LEAG, are there other things that we need to sort of bring to NASA's attention that may have fallen through the cracks, that you think may have fallen through the cracks, so we can get some clarification on that?
Okay, now I'll turn the podium over to Nancy, who's talking about SBAG.
Yeah, I guess while we're switching the slides and we're on this facilities question, I do think that this is an important issue, not just for LEAG or SBAG, but for the whole entire planetary community. In the RNA reorganization, there's clearly going to be a different way that these facilities are taken care of. And I know of a number of people who have gotten conflicting information on how to deal with this in the solar system working proposals, for example. So it's clearly a work in progress. But it's important because these facilities are key, not just for one ag, but across all of them. And I think that as ag chairs, we're going to try to work together to make sure at the next TSS meeting. I know Jeff and I love working together, so it'll be fun. But I do think that those are all important points. So, right, so we have an SBAG meeting next week. And so I thought for the most part I'd show what we're planning to talk about there. So this meeting's in Washington, D.C., and it's going to be a full 2.5 days that we've got scheduled. It is going to be broadcast on the web. So as I go through the agenda, if you're able to attend in person, that's fabulous. If you're not, you can tune in just for the parts that you're interested in, and you can ask questions that way, and we'll try to make sure that they're answered. And just a plug for the one afterwards, I guess unlike LEAG, where you guys have meetings once a year, we have twice a year meetings for SBAG is traditionally what we've done. So the next meeting after that will actually be in January, and it's going to be in Phoenix. We're actually coordinating with Eric Asfog, who's running a workshop on the spacecraft reconnaissance of asteroid and comet interiors. So to make your trip to Phoenix worthwhile, you could go to SBAG and also go to that workshop in coordination. And Eric actually contacted me wanting to do this coordination, and we were very open to it. So if other people are doing things in the future which you think would be useful to coordinate, we try to have one SBAG meeting in the DC area, and then the other one we can go somewhere else. So we're very open to try to coordinating with whatever makes sense. Okay, Jeff showed his committee, so I figured I'd show our committee for this steering committee. I took over in chair almost a year ago, so and it's, we got Lindley is here as well somewhere, I think, and a few other members of the steering committee. But just to jump into kind of the main things that we're going to be talking about next week at our SBAG meeting, we'll start off the morning. We've got a good NASA headquarters participation. Jim Green's going to be there again, kind of with a planetary science division update. And then Jonathan Rawl will be there for the research and analysis program. Actually, on the SBAG steering committee, we put together some specific sort of questions to get more statistics, sort of like Jim was showing yesterday about how many proposals were submitted, how many were declined. We asked a few other specific questions about, how many ultimately submitted their step 2 proposal and some of these. So, and Jonathan said that they're kind of working on getting some answers for that are kind of quantitative. So that should be interesting, and hopefully it'll be a productive discussion. And then Michael New will be joining us as well. He probably won't be able to say very much in particular about the Discovery AO because it's in the draft form and clearly their hands will be a little tied, but it is nice that he's able to show up. It's what's nice about having these meetings right downtown DC. So this first part of the meeting, it'll all be online. If you're interested in these planetary-wide sorts of issues, I definitely encourage you to tune in to the WebEx or show up in person. And my philosophy behind these SBAG meetings, too, is these are not science conferences. The whole point of doing this is to have discussions. And so I really encourage you when you come to these meetings or you're participating on the WebEx to ask discussions. We're going to try to make it so it's not just packed back to back to back to back, but actually has time for discussion. And so I really would not even so encourage, but please really almost beg and ask, because there's nothing more boring than when I have to run a whole meeting and nobody talks and discusses things. That's the point of doing this. So please keep that in mind. We also have a bunch of other exciting things going on in small body science. There's Comet Sighting Springs that was alluded to the other day. So going by Mars, there's going to be opportunities there to do good science, and we'll get updates on that as well. We're going to hear about Arecibo, which is an important facility, and but yet continually their funding is maybe not as secure as some would like for a facility that's so important. So this is an important issue for SBAG to always keep on top of. We're going to hear about planetary balloon missions, and one of which is supposed to be launching sometime in the next few months. I think I have that right. And there's a lot of exciting small bodies missions going on. Rosetta, I think everybody saw the CG movie. That's pretty exciting there. So Dawn is going to get to Ceres next year. NeoWise is continuing to make new discoveries, so we'll get an update on that. OSIRIS-REx is well on the path to launching. Hayabusa 2 is also well on the path to getting their launch, and there's New Horizons and searching for a KBO beyond going by Pluto. So we'll get updates on all of these. And yeah, and we try to put the slides online on the website after the fact too, whenever that's possible. So if you missed the talks and you want to see the slides, you can always go and get them there. So the second day, after the first day is kind of small body science, the second day we're going to be dealing a lot with the asteroid initiative because NASA, we are co-chartered with HEOMD, and there are a lot of exploration initiatives that have to do with small bodies, in particular the NASA's asteroid initiative. And so the whole second day we're devoting to this important and timely topic that NASA's been working on quite a lot. And we're going to get some updates from NASA headquarters. In particular, we're going to be hearing about both the options that they're looking at right now, which is capturing a whole small asteroid or picking a boulder off one of a larger asteroids. So that's kind of called option A, and option B. We'll hear about what the crewed mission is thinking about doing there. And then SBAG also has had a strategic action team that's been trying to provide some input, and CAPTEM also has been asked a few questions, so we'll get inputs there. And again, this day, we're not looking to this to just be a one-way exchange. At least that's my hope. My hope is not just that this is a one day of people talking at us, but we've tried to set up the schedule because I know a lot of us in this community have strong feelings about the asteroid initiative, about the ARM mission, and I think that this is an opportunity for our community to be involved in that conversation. And just sitting back and being quiet or mumbling in corners is not necessarily the same thing as speaking up and being involved in the conversation. So I really hope that we're doing a whole day devoted to this topic. If you have feelings about this, this is the time when you should be speaking up and expressing them. And then for our third day, which is a half day, we're kind of focusing on future small body activities. We'll talk about the SKG updates. We'll hear about the NeoScout, which Julie's going to talk about tomorrow too. AIDA, which is an asteroid deflection mission concept. There's B612. We'll hear about that. work that's been going on for the Mars Moons architecture for human exploration activities. And then at the end of the day, we'll kind of wrap it up with whatever our potential findings might be. And that'll be a half day. So we'll end by about 1 o'clock on that final day. And I think that's my last slide. So yeah, so I really encourage people to participate either in person or you can participate over the WebEx. And we do this for the community to be able to discuss issues. And so I hope that people will be able to participate. But also take questions. I guess this is the first time I've done this at one of these exploration science forums, so I'm not really sure how this goes from here, but happy to take questions or anything else. Bill's got a question. Thank you.
I don't want you to feel too alone out there.
Well, I know. I mean, that's what I just said. Everybody has to. The whole point is to discuss things, and then the room is quiet.
That's right. No, I wanted to know more about day 2 with the discussion of the asteroid retrieval mission and the rest. So is the goal just to sort of have an airing of ideas, or is NASA, are they looking for feedback? What is the goal of this day? I just wanted to have an understanding for it.
The goal of this day, there's probably my impression of what this goal of this day should be. So why don't I offer that up, and maybe that's actually what the goal is or not. But I think the goal of this day is to have the community know what's going on. So to fill the community in on all, because there's actually been a lot of activity going on that I don't think that our community has been completely in touch with. There's been a few individuals, but importantly, later in this year, they're looking to make a down select of the concepts between capturing a whole small asteroid or picking a boulder off a different one. Right. And that's going to be a decision that gets made sometime in 2014, late 2014. So this thing is moving forward. There's work that's being done, and so I think the goal is to inform the community and have people able to engage in that conversation with whatever manner. But we're not trying to limit. I'm not going to limit discussion either. I mean, some people are for it, some people are against, and I know there's a wide range of opinions. Yeah. And I think the whole point is to have that conversation occur because I don't think it's happened.
Okay. I guess my main question is, let's say everyone in the room decides option, I won't even use option A or let's say everyone says option A is wonderful and option B is terrible. Will that input have any effect on the decision making, or will it essentially it'll just be input and thank you for the advice?
So the A in SBAG stands for assessment and not for advisory, as I've been told many, many times, because we don't advise, we only assess. And so I don't know, what our input taken into decision making, but I do feel that that it would factor into there. I mean, the people are coming to this day, they're participating in this day, they're speaking to the community, and the people who I think are going to be heavily involved in those decisions are going to be there for this day. So I think if there was widespread consensus, that would probably be taken into account.
Okay.
I guess Paul can add to that, is also on the steering committee and has been really involved with the special action team. Good. Can you let Paul talk?
They're waiting for the camera.
You get on the camera.
So, to just Bill to reiterate, I'm responding to you, Bill, now. So I think it's important. I mean, one of the things that we're trying to do, the whole reason that we put this day together is for people to be aware of what is going on with the entire asteroid initiative. It's not just ARM, it's the whole initiative in itself. But the feedback that we get from the community is going to be really important. And that's something that NASA is going to take note of. It's more than just human exploration. Human exploration is the main driver. But there is a strong desire to get good science and feedback from the community about what type of science can be conducted at these missions. So, this feedback is really important.
All right. Any other questions about anything? Yeah. All right. Is that it then? Oh, okay. So I guess that's it. So now we break and we go to the posters. I guess I should say, and I'll offer Jeff up as well. If you have any issues or anything, please always feel free to email me. I don't have a lot of power, but I'll try to do what I can. So I'm sure Jeff will too. So please just always feel free to contact me. And thanks.
Thanks to